Breach is a character that literally allows you to deal damage and flash enemies through walls. That's right, if you want to completely dominate your opponents with them having little to no counterplay, definitely stick around because in this guide, we're going to be breaking down each and every one of Breach's abilities and then give you tips and tricks on what you need to do to have insanely high impact every single game. Speaking of high impact, Gamely Valorant is now up to 2 daily uploads. That's right, we're going to be releasing double uploads every single day, so get in on the ground floor and smash that subscribe button. All that being said, enough talking, let's just jump right into it, shall we? So the first ability on our list is Breach's signature ability, Fault Line. Now, Fault Line's gonna get 1 free charge every single round, and it's gonna be only on a 35-second cooldown, which means you can use it multiple times in a single game. You could charge it up, and that will increase the range it goes. Now, in order to make sure that you get it exactly what you want to, check the minimap in the top left corner, because you're gonna see exactly how far it's gonna go before you fire it off. Now, what does this ability do, you might ask? It knocks up and will daze enemies and will stun them for potentially 3 seconds. While they can still shoot, dueling enemies for them is going to be near impossible, and it's going to be very difficult for them to hit their shots. That means if you can hit enemies with this while an ally peeks, you could potentially simply win the matchup just right there. Now, the broken aspect about this ability is you can fire it through walls. Yeah, you heard me. Completely through walls. If you know where an enemy is, or if you simply want to check a corner that you think an enemy is, you can fire your signature Fault Line, peek it with yourself or an ally, and set up these scenarios where you can kill an enemy while they're stunned, knocked up, and dazed, and this ability allows you to get some easy picks. Now let's talk about the next ability on our list, which is Aftershock, which can only have 1 charge. It's a slow charge burst, and will do damage right through a wall in a square-like pattern that will also show up on the minimap, just like the ability before. This is going to be a common theme for a lot of these abilities, by the way. It does insanely high levels of damage and can still be activated through walls. Are you starting to see the pattern with this character? First, its ability was a stun through walls. Now it's an ability that literally does giant amounts of burst damage through walls. If you gather information about where enemies are, or if you think an enemy is behind a corner, you could potentially flush them out or kill them without having to peek at all. That makes this so powerful for checking corners. The only downside of this ability is that you only get 1 charge. Because it's so powerful, if you could check multiple corners, it would probably be just overpowered, but as it is, still being able to flush out an enemy or get a kill on an enemy that literally is just waiting around the corner for you, they're waiting for you to peek, and then they all of a sudden die, that is insanely frustrating for them and insanely powerful for you to do if you pick up this character. Now let's talk about the next ability for Breach, Flashpoint. Flashpoint's gonna have 2 potential charges, and just like every single other ability we've gone through so far, it goes right through a wall, and this is like a flashbang. Think of it very similar to the curveball of Phoenix, where if an enemy's looking directly at it, it's gonna flash them right in the face. Now, it's only a 2-second flash, but being able to flash someone through a wall is probably even more powerful than Phoenix's flash. You can set up insane scenarios where you flash someone directly right through a wall, and then an ally or yourself peeks it and simply just kills them, getting a free kill, just like with the stun example from before. That being said, however, you definitely need to be calling when you're flashing. If you're playing this character, if you're playing any character with flashes, you need to be hyper vocal in comms and say exactly when you're gonna flashpoint, because if you don't call it and you flash with your allies and the enemy peeks them while they're blind, they're gonna die, and they're gonna spend the rest of the game yelling insults at your mother, so definitely don't do that. Make sure you talk in comms. Make sure you say, hey, I'm gonna be flashing this corner. Don't peek it for a second, and then right after you flash it, say peek it. Now let's talk about the last, but certainly not least, ability on the list. It's Rolling Thunder, his ultimate. Now, Breach's ultimate Rolling Thunder is very similar to his signature ability, which was Fault Line. What Rolling Thunder does is it's a cascading quake in a huge cone, and I'm talking huge. It has a very big area, and it will show it on the minimap, just like many of the other abilities, in this giant red area of effect. It will systematically go as if it's riding a wave on the ground, and if it hits anybody, it's gonna knock them up insanely high, it's gonna stun them, and it's gonna daze them, just like with the first ability, but to a larger scale. If anyone gets hit by Rolling Thunder, it's going to be incredibly easy for you to potentially peek them. On top of this, you can set up scenarios where you throw Rolling Thunder and follow behind it, potentially killing any enemies that get knocked up by it. Now, there's lots of different stuns in the game, but what makes Rolling Thunder so unique is the fact that it can go through walls. Yeah, surprise, surprise, all of his abilities can go through walls, but even his ultimate that has a huge radius. This means you can essentially hold giant sections of a point through a wall, knock up an enemy, make a play on them when they have very little counterplay whatsoever. this ultimate just plays into the rest of his kit of being able to do broken things through walls with little to no counterplay. Now, before we get into whether or not Breach is good, let's talk about some really cool combos with this character. In my opinion, the best combo for this character is most likely Sova. Being able to gather information with the recon arrow to set up for these insanely powerful abilities or setup/flashes through the wall can mean really easy kills. Sometimes you'll find where an enemy is, but they won't move. You kind of know their general direction, but you don't know exactly where they are, and they're just holding the corner. What Breach can do is punish them for standing in the same location, punish them for going into the obvious place and not relocating. Now, all in all, the big question that might be on your mind is, where does Breach weigh when compared to all the other characters? Is he good? Is he bad? What is his strengths and weaknesses? In my opinion, I think Breach is just simply nuts. I mean, being able to do all this through a wall, you can kind of see the big picture here about just how powerful he is. He might even be overpowered. This is insane to be able to do this. While it's definitely going to take a great deal of game sense to be able to flash and do damage where you think people are naturally going to be hiding, as players get better in the game, this guy's going to get so much value. I think a really good Breach is going to be able to get a lot of entry picks and frags and set up a lot of opportunity for his team in the same way someone like Phoenix can, but even more so with very little counterplay. Now, I will say he has some utility, but he doesn't have a fully rounded kit. He doesn't have anything like a smoke to help him get through choke points or any sort of mobility, but he doesn't need to. If he plays with his team, not going off on flanks to do solo missions, but plays with his team and sets up these systematic flashes, stuns, or just raw damage through walls, he can set up scenarios where his team just pushes onto a point, can check every angle, flashes one, peeks it, does damage to one, peeks it, stuns one corner, peeks it, and then eventually they get to push onto point and they might have gotten some kills or they might have not, but at the very least they're not going to get flanked and they didn't take any 50-50s. I think that he's an insanely good role filler in a team, and I think he's really one of the most powerful characters in the game. I know I say this a lot, but I really do think that this is incredibly powerful, and if you want to actually pop off in ranked, I would highly suggest you duoing with the partner so that you and that duo can set up these pinpoint perfect peaks with this character. I think you're going to win a lot of games and rack up them kills. That being said, if you want to rack up kills and become the best Valorant player you could be right away, smash the subscribe button. We're uploading double daily uploads. You heard me right, double daily uploads. Do yourself a favor and smash that subscribe button. You will not regret it. Anyways, if you have any questions, comments, or videos that you want me to start making, definitely let me know in the comments down below. That's all I have for you today. I'm Coach Mills, and until next time,